Reflecting on our presentation, exploring the impact of Brexit on sport in the UK, the most satisfying element of the whole project for me was how well we worked as a team to produce it. Given the remote nature of the experience imposed upon us by lockdown restrictions, it was especially important to be organised, to plan ahead, and communicate regularly throughout. We did this by setting up a WhatsApp group. This allowed us to keep in touch, maintain clarity of purpose to ensure there was no doubling up with more than one person working on a specific subject, and, perhaps most of all, it was great for simply encouraging each other along. Everyone, Aruj, Declan, Thomas and myself, all chipped in and did our bit, and it was fascinating to see the different perspectives provided by the others that I hadn't considered before. For example, it's galling to think that under the new employment restrictions resulting from Brexit, a quality young player such as Jadon Sancho would not have been given his opportunity to leave England at 17 to take the next step of his development with Borussia Dortmund. It was also fascinating to ponder what will happen to the Erasmus Plus programme that I'd previously not considered from a sporting perspective. My preconception of Erasmus was that it gave students the opportunity to study in Europe, almost like a funded gap year, if you like. So I hadn't appreciated that a portion of its budget is dedicated to supporting sports-related partnerships on the continent. At the planning stages, as a team, we recognised the importance of trying to view Brexit from different perspectives, conscious that much of the subject is reported, understandably so, from a negative, fearful stance. Keen to give balance, we sought alternative possible outcomes that might actually have a positive effect. Citing UEFA's controversial three foreigners rule of the 1990s, when Rangers came within a point of reaching the Champions League final, we questioned whether being forced to have a team of predominantly homegrown players actually worked in their favour. If new restrictions limit the number of players coming in from the EU, will our homegrown young players, and consequently the national team, once again benefit from more chances to establish themselves at our clubs? I suspect so. In these turbulent 4 years of debate, division and resentment, I feel it's important we try to look ahead positively now and attempt to make the best of a position the majority of Scots didn't choose, but nevertheless we find ourselves in. In the absence of a large body of definitive academic research to draw upon, much writing at this early stage remains by necessity speculative. It was valuable then to include an elite interview to add gravitas to the presentation. So I must admit that it was always my plan to pose a Brexit-related question to Michelle McGinty when the Glasgow City Council Head of Strategic Communications for the 2014 Commonwealth Games was invited by Francis to appear as a guest lecturer during the module. Like I said before, success is all in the forward planning. Adding the audio of Michelle's answer to that question, which was, do you anticipate Brexit's tighter freedom of movement laws to negatively affect Glasgow's status as a host venue for major sporting events? It gave a valuable extra dimension to the presentation. Equally, it was another example of positivity that suggests we can still be all right after this. Glasgow can still be a world-class host. There is life after Brexit. In conclusion, my own view is that while some industries, such as fishing, exporters of fresh produce, etc., will suffer pain as a result of Brexit, sport will be less severely affected. The cross-border nature of competition will continue largely unabated, once through the worst of this ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, of course, and the majority of financial revenue will still stream in from television money and sponsorship. And for the areas that are affected, the football and rugby transfer markets mostly, they will adapt and find solutions that may ultimately benefit rather than harm in the long term. In an era plagued by so much uncertainty and a maelstrom of fearful what-if scenarios, it's important that as a nation we try to be positive, adapt to the new normals we now face, and try to move forward as constructively as we can, together. And there are few things with the power to bring together people together quite like sport. It will not just be all right post Brexit, it will be a priceless tool to help the rest of us get through this too.